Hey guys, Steve here from SJ Woodworks. So today we're going to work on a platter, kind of a small platter. The only problem I often have with platter blanks is they're usually too thin to really mount on the lathe with the woodworm screw. Let me show you. So if you're going to use a worm screw, you got to have enough depth of your platter to get this in there so it won't break through the recess that you're going to cut on the other side. This one's a little bit close. I think I'm going to try something different for mounting it today. Without using the woodworm screw that I usually use so that I can keep from breaking through. So let me bring you in and show you what we're going to do. Okay, so the way this works is we are going to take the platter blank and simply press it up against the open jaws of the chuck here, so it just presses up against that with the tailstock in here to provide pressure to hold it on there. So let's say we get this mounted on there, then the procedure goes like this. I'm going to just simply cut a tenon on this side. Not actually going to cut out, an extruding tenon. I'm just going to cut a groove here that the jaws of the chuck can go into and hold a tenon. Then I'm going to flip it around immediately, and this side that you're seeing here where I'm going to cut this little tenon is actually going to be the inside of the platter. We'll flip it around, then we'll shape this side over here, which is going to be the back side of the platter, and there we'll cut another recess when we're shaping the back side, turn it around again, secure it in that recess, and then we'll shape the inside of the platter. So, it's a flip-flip routine here to get this done, but we got to make sure to tighten this up really well to make sure there's enough pressure to keep this on here while we just cut a little tenon out. This blank is a little bit wobbly because it's warped just a little over the years that it's been sitting here in the garage, but all we're going to do on this side is just cut a groove here for the jaws of the chuck to go into using a parting tool, and then we're going to turn it around and mount it. Alright, so I've just got to cut this groove wide enough that the jaws can fit in there, grip around the tenon that I'm leaving there, and I've got to dovetail it a little to fit the jaws of the chuck as well. Okay, that should give me enough to be able to turn it around there, grip it on that side, to be able to then shape the back of the plate. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, now we're mounted securely using much less depth of the wood than we would if we were doing a woodworm screw. So now we'll just start from there as if I had the wood screw in there. Back of the bottom of the platter is on this side. The top is on this side that we'll hollow out later. Now it's kind of the regular procedure from here, so let's dive in. Alright, so first we're going to just true up the blank a little bit. The edge is a little off, so let's get that trued up and then we'll face it off to make sure everything is in line. Actually, first I'm going to mark the recess that's going to be on the bottom of the platter here, and now marking the edge of the foot. So now you can see I've mapped out where I want the foot to be. Now I'm just going to shape the rest of it, just removing material, looking for kind of a smooth OG shape curve on the bottom towards the outside of the rim there, and doing some shear scraping to make sure I can blend in all the cuts around that curve as we go from the bottom out to the rim. Once I'm happy with that, I'll work a little bit on the foot. We need to clear out that recess in there with this parting tool. I've got to make this recess so the jaws can fit in there now. So remove a bunch of material in there, use a square carbide cutter to make sure it's perfectly flat, and then make sure it's undercut as well. A skew chisel to set the dovetail, and then a little bit of sanding. So as I was sanding on the back here of the plate, I noticed a couple of cracks were opening up just a little bit, and so I decided to take it off of the lathe. I've left it on the chuck here so I'll be able to center it up again when I put it back on there. But I took it off the lathe and decided to fill these cracks with CA glue. So that's what I'm doing now. I might not worry about them too much. They're not big cracks, but they're in the foot here, which is what's going to need to hold it when I reverse it on the lathe. In this recess, it's going to need to hold it so that I can hollow out the inside of the plate. So I definitely don't want any cracks causing some trouble there. So in this thinner one here, I'm using thin CA glue to just make sure that's filled all the way up. And this one here is a little bit bigger, almost like a little knot or a bug hole or something there, leading into a crack. So I filled that with medium CA glue that should fill it a little bit better. So we're going to let that dry, then we're going to get it back on the lathe and finish up the sanding, and then we'll turn it around. Okay, now that we've got it sanded pretty well, I want to just tell you one more time what the procedure was here. So basically, we mounted it against the jaws of the chuck with the tailstock first. We dug out a recess on the other side, flipped it around and put that in the jaws of the chuck. Now the jaws of the chuck are inside that recess, but they're actually in compression mode around the middle part, that tenon that we left in there. So quite securely fastened. Then we shaped the back of the bowl here, made our regular tenon here. This is just a little OG shape here. Here's the foot that we defined, slightly undercut so it will sit flat. And now we're going to turn this thing around. This is kind of normal platter procedure here. Now you can see the recess that we had that in before. Get down inside here. Now the jaws of the chuck are in expansion mode on the other side of this platter. Let's see if it's running nice and true here. Oops, we're in reverse. Okay, it's running pretty true. Now this is going to be the inside of the platter, which we are going to true up and hollow out.
Okay, so truing up the face here, and then I realized I got a couple of flat spots still on the edge to take care of. So a little more work on the edge. And then back to the face. We're going to dish out this thing here, but I want to set where I want the rim to be. So that outer circle there, that's where the rim's going to be. I'm going to dish out and hollow everything inside of that, and then work on a little detail for the rim to just give it a little bit of interest. So I'm just looking for basically uniform thickness down in there, so we'll just keep hollowing this out until we're finished.
Alright, we're finished dishing out here, I think, and we need to work on this rim. So what I want to do is have this kind of slant in a little bit, but leave a bit of a bead right here to define the rim. The wood's kind of, unremarkable, so I want to do a little decorative there to just make sure we have something nice.
Okay, the right tool for the job here is this square carbide cutter, I think. I've been using the bowl gouge for most of this, but we'll just slide this in there, get it down to the thickness that I want, and then angle that in, just leaving a little bit of a bead there. It's pretty easy with the square tool to get that shoulder exactly how I want it against that bead. So form that and a little sanding.
Okay, now we're finished sanding up to 600. Like I said, this wood isn't terribly remarkable or very highly figured, but I think it's nice. You just never know sometimes when you get a piece of wood that comes from who knows where, and you're not sure what it's going to look like on the inside, but I think it's alright, and I like the shape a lot. We're going to do just a simple walnut oil finish, so let's go do that now. Alright, so I just have here Mahoney's just walnut oil finish. It's real simple to put on. It's, real easy to maintain. I kind of like the way it looks with the matte finish. So we're just going to kind of rub some walnut oil on here, let it soak in a bit and rub it off, and then we'll call this thing done. Like I said, the wood is not, the most exciting thing that we've ever turned, but I do like the shape of this platter. The goal here was to show another way to mount a platter blank to the lathe when it's too thin for the woodworm screw. Another option, of course, would be to use a glue block, and I've done that, I think, the last time I did a platter video. I used a glue block, and that's another way to do it, but, sometimes that's a pain to have to get the glue block off once you've turned it around. So I think this worked really well. Once again, we just pressed it up against the open jaws of the chuck, tighten up the tailstock nice and tight so that it it holds it securely. And then turn a little recess on the inside with a kind of recessed tenon that then you can flip around, put in the jaws of the chuck, come on this side, shape the back of the bowl with your recess, flip it around again, do the inside of the bowl, and then you're all done. So that's the technique we went with here, and I think it turned out pretty well. So I'm going to keep oiling this up. I will put a couple of finished pictures at the end. Thanks for joining me today. It's been a while since I put up a video, I know, and hopefully I'll do a few more videos here. I'm having a good time. So once again, thank you, and if you care to subscribe to the channel or share this video, then I would appreciate it. We'll see you next time.